Going for a 4-4-2.
He didn't know what was going on in the room.
Elias managed to refrain from swearing.
He said, if you've got a problem with me, let's sort it out in the gym.
He's actually playing with our lot. The thing is...
Come on! Where has that come from?
Yeah.
They brought through the door. You know, you look at the...
What a performance, the guys...
That was ruled off. Quite a stupid thing, but
Live from Style Space at the Supporters Club. Right!
But he was getting a bit tired, I thought.
Come on! There we go! Come on!
Come on! Yeah! Go!
That video clip always makes me laugh. That was when Yarmolenko put the ball in the back of the net against Chelsea, and obviously now things have changed at Chelsea because they sacked Frank Lampard yesterday. Anyway, welcome back to West Ham Irons United. My name is Anton, of course. Keep the comments coming in, hit the subscribe button and hit the thumbs up. This is our transfer show as promised, and it's my bad. Do you know why it's my bad? I actually put the show on for 11:30 tonight, and I've only just seen it literally a minute or two ago and changed the time to immediately, so you may not have been notified that we are live, so apologies if you are checking in. Already I'm reading the comments, and it's hilarious what people are thinking, because you can probably tell from the title with some of the news we've got to update you from today, and there is quite a lot of news to bring to you, so without further ado, I think we should actually get started. So let me just bring up the first image here for you guys. And of course, the first one we're going to be talking about today is Jesse Lingard. Manchester, born and bred, aged 28, is linked with a loan move to West Ham. The once promising youngster waiting in the limelight for a chance in the first team. Now at 28, he is no longer the breakthrough prospect waiting in the limelight. He's made over 200 appearances for Manchester United, having joined them when he was 7 years old. And in the 17-18 season in particular, he scored 13 goals and provided 7 assists across all competitions. But his product has since slummed a lot, quite dramatically plummeted. The 2019 season in particular wasn't the best for him. And I think he ended the season with 0 goals and 0 assists in his 28 matches, in a disappointing, which is obviously a disappointing statistic for any outfield player, let alone an attacking midfielder. So therefore his confidence is going to drop, and it's obviously down to an all-time low, and that doesn't help that he's in the midst of having this brand and social media presence that he's got as well, which will definitely have a knock-on effect for him. But during his tenure at Manchester United, Lingard has predominantly played in a 4-2-3-1 formation as a centre attacking midfielder or right midfielder, drifting into pockets with his abundance of energy. The fans, I think, at Manchester United have grown quite tired of Lingard since, in particular, the arrival of Bruno Fernandes. And even though, Lingard plays in the attacking third, one thing I will say about his statistics is that he rarely loses the ball. He's got 88% pass accuracy. And this could be due to sometimes having his less creative role, because he does play over the midfield in several positions. His movement off the ball takes attention away from the team's more creative players, leaving space for them to find killer through balls. And obviously we're kind of working with these midfielders right now who are being creative, etc. Manchester United have triggered the 1-year extension onto his contract, which now runs until the summer of 2022, and are yet to decide whether or not they want to allow him to leave the club on loan potentially before the deadline. His salary is about 100k a week, so unless he's willing to take a pay cut, his options are going to start to dwindle very soon. So it's kind of inevitable that Lingard is on his way out at Manchester United. He's not played in the Premier League for Man United since July, but he has featured in 2 Carabao Cup victories and an FA Cup win over Watford. And West Ham, in order for West Ham to try and get this deal over the line, we're going to have to look at potentially making one of our other players a loan deal and the rumour is that we're looking at Saeed Benrahma, because as we all know, we're only allowed 2 domestic loans, and we've got currently Saeed Benrahma and Craig Dawson. So the rumour is that we're looking to make one or the other a permanent signing. Now, the cheaper option, of course, out of those two would be make Craig Dawson, but it looks likely, more and more likely, that it'll be potentially Saeed Benrahma. The academy graduate did make an appearance for David Moyes whilst he was in charge during the 2013-14 season. Scored 4 goals in 40 appearances across all competitions last season. He last won one of his England caps. He's actually had 24 England caps. Was during the UEFA Nations League finals in June 2019. He is fast, he is pacey, and he does work hard and loves to press the oppositions. There's no ifs or buts about it. We know the player possesses quality, and he is a very, very good footballer. It's whether or not you like potentially him and his attitude, and do you think potentially the fact that, you know, he created this brand, he's very big on. I think for a while he had a YouTube channel. I don't know if the club quickly got on top of that and removed that and tried to stop it, but you know, he's got to have a healthy balance between the two. So I don't know. It will be interesting to see. Let's look at some of his stats though and his career. For Manchester United, he's had 133 games in the Premier League, scoring 18 goals with 12 assists. That's 23 games, also 6 goals and 2 assists in the FA Cup. 22 games, 4 goals and 3 assists in the Europa League. 16 games, no goals and 1 assist in the Champions League. 15 games, 4 goals and 3 assists in the League Cup. I've mentioned to you there about England, 24 games and 4 goals. He also, at the start of his career with Manchester United, went out on loan to Birmingham, where he played 13 times, scoring 6 goals and has got 3 assists. He then found himself moving on loan again to Derby County, where he played 15 times, scoring 2 goals and 2 assists, and again another loan out to Brighton, where he made 17 appearances with 4 goals and 4 assists. An interesting stat for you though is he's most effective as a left winger. In his whole career he's played over 100 games in that position with 24 goals and 29 assists to his name. So what do you think of the Jesse Lingard link? What we should do is have a look at some of the comments in here as well, and see what everyone is saying. Hope you're all well. Morning all, morning Mark, hope you're good. Thanks for joining us. Long Dark Tunnel, oi oi, thank you for joining us. Siho Yang, thank you for joining us, mate. Marcus, hope you're well. Words and Pictures, really good to see you. Long Dark Tunnel, I don't want Lingard. It's interesting. When I think of Lingard on top of his game, I think absolutely, I think he would add value to us. When I think of Lingard not on top of his game, he's really dramatically dropped standards and dropped ability, but he's not favoured, and he's had a lot going on in his personal life as well. And it's just about, has Moyes got it in him to bring in a player and change and bring the best out of him? Because we know that he is all about that 100%. So it'd be interesting to see what's going to happen. Long Dark Tunnel, Lingard, Bellend. Honestly, it's mad. Long Dark Tunnel, Man United reject. But the but is, we are talking about David Moyes being able to bring the best out of players, so that'll be interesting. Kent Hammers, you're saying Lingard can play anywhere in there and a chance they will use him as a striker. Absolutely, mate, and it could be a cheap option. I mean, listen, the rumour is that there's a loan, that they're discussing a loan deal, but you know, would Man United be willing to accept a fee? I don't know. Would Moyes want to pay a fee? I don't know. It's an interesting one, but it gives us another option, definitely. But it's really interesting to look at his most effective offering comes from the left wing, with over 100 games, 24 goals and 29 assists, playing in that left wing position. Mark Alexander, Lingard will not come to sit on the bench. Who does he replace? It's interesting, mate, but I think with the amount of games that are coming, and if you think about, I mean, we all know potentially the Euros are not going to take place, but Lingard is not getting game time anywhere right now. So coming to somewhere like West Ham, you've got, if Lingard was there, you would have Lingard, Fornals, you would have Benrahma, Lanzini, and then you've got Souček and and Rice there, and that gives us options, and we definitely need options. We need strength, and as Kent has said, we may start to look at bringing him in to support the forward line. He can cover all of those positions, so it's an interesting one. We definitely going to need strength and depth, 100%. Lingard will not come to it. We'll mention that one there, sorry. So is it worth waiting for the Chelsea summer sale when all the younger players are sold off? I don't know, mate. I don't know. We can talk about that, I suppose, in the near future. Long Dark Turner is a decent player, just don't like the personality in it. I think Moyes will shake that out of him. And listen, he's 28. He needs to mature at some point, and maybe Moyes is the right guy. Listen, I've got a lot of faith in what Moyes is doing with players and what he's done on his 2 times with the club. So he's starting to bring the best out of a lot of players, and I think, you know, Jesse Lingard could definitely be one of those there. Got someone in the background. Are you coming on at some point? Yeah, okay, that's cool. We'll keep going, and then I'll bring on who we've got. We're going to be talking about Hee-Chan in a minute. Let's see what else people are saying here. Ian Smith is saying Lingard will demand first team football, so who do we drop? If he is alone, does he mean we make Dawson a permanent? The rumour is that it could be either Dawson or Benrahma, because the rules state that you have to have 2 domestic loans. The cheapest option, of course, will be Dawson, but we've got an obligation to buy with Benrahma. But the rumours today are kicking about saying it could be Benrahma. So it'll be an interesting, listen, it's heating up. We're at the final week of the transfer deadline, so we all know that we need to bring in strength. We need strength and depth, and maybe he could be the option. We don't know. Neil, hope you're well in South Australia at 10:05 on Tuesday night. Wow, crazy, innit? Predicting the future for us, mate. Kent is saying, evening, Neil, the man who never sleeps. I hope you're well. Oh, it's just jumped. Neil Turner, what's happened to the young Reims striker? I mean, listen, we were linked to him. It's probably, and we know it's not going to happen. I mean, I think we're now linked to upwards of 50 odd players. So I think a lot of people were probably putting 2 together. The thing is, with him in particular, he's worth £12 million. But if he's only worth £12 million, because that's what they were willing to accept for the player, you've got to have a think about yourself why West Ham aren't going in for him, and if the rumour was true at the start. We're not too sure. Is Lingard any good on his day? Absolutely. But then obviously he's not on his day right now. So Bobby is saying we have to give Lingard a chance and let David Moyes work his magic on him, because it's only a loan, so if it doesn't work out, it's not a big problem. I completely agree with you, Bobby. Absolutely. Moyes is obviously looking at bringing in a player that he's worked with in the past, has got Premier League experience, and he's got a hell of a lot of Premier League experience and European experience as well. So yeah, it's really interesting. But listen, there's loads there. Ben, hope you're well, mate. Thank you for joining us today. Ross is saying Lingard will bring added character to the squad, and I think he will gel in the West Ham family very well. There's loads of comments there that I've not actually gone through because there's loads more to get through. So I will move on to the next player who we're kind of going to be talking about, and it's Edouard, the Frenchman Edouard from Celtic, who is currently linked to West Ham. He's currently reluctant to put pen to paper on a new deal with Celtic after scoring over 70 goals in over 150 appearances, and the 23-year-old could be the signing that Moyes is looking for. Now, you may ask, when you see a lot of rumours online talking about 30 plus, 35 million plus, Celtic have got a history of always bringing in good quality players, got a good scouting system. They find these players from abroad, they bring them in, and then they sell them on for massive amounts of profits. And this is what potentially they're looking like they're going to do here. Now, he has scored a lot of goals, and do you know what? I don't follow as questionably to what Stell will say. I don't follow any Scottish football. You do keep an eye on it, especially when you hear about a particular player who's scoring a lot of goals. You can't help but look at them, and I do like the look of Edouard. I think he's reasonably awkward. He looks a little bit lazy at times, but he's a different. People would judge Edouard maybe similar to the way that they judged Haller. The difference is Edouard does do a lot of work, and he's extremely clever on the ball. It's just whether or not he can make the step up to the Premier League. This will be the interesting one. He's strong, he's quick, and he's remarkably fast with his feet. He's about 6 foot, just over 6 foot tall. His most favourable quality is his awareness and off the ball movement. And for Celtic, he's built a strong understanding with his teammates, creating regular patterns, which seems sees him dummy the ball before running onto its through pass. From any time I've ever watched any of the Scottish football or any of the highlights, just whatever, he constantly is obsessed with dummying the ball, but it's really effective and it works really well with Celtic, and it's as if the opposition team don't catch on to it or onto it. So he's a reasonably clever player. He has the basics and fundamentals of a striker who could offer lots to West Ham. Like I said, he's got awareness, his intelligence would suit the Moyes style of play. He's 23 years old and he's got plenty of time still to learn and develop. And like I said, the real question marks over him is whether he can make the step up to the Premier League. But lots of players that have come from the Scottish leagues have stepped up to the equation and proven that they can make the step up. And we can sit here and talk about players from all over different leagues in the world. I mean, how many players have come over from the Bundesliga and not been successful? How many players have come over from different leagues and not been successful? So it doesn't always mean that they're not going to be great. I think about Dembele. When Dembele left Celtic and went to Lyon, I was one of those fans that turned around and said, I don't want him because I don't think he'll make the step up. But so far he's smashing it across at Lyon in France, and he's another player that West Ham were linked to but we won't get. So Edouard, like I said, he was signed initially on loan from PSG, and he was raw, and obviously, like I said, he was in the shadow of Dembele, but he is a definite player that I think could really work in our system. His touch, the only thing I'll say about him is his touch needs work, and maybe his ability to play is back to the goal. But then if you think about Antonio's style of play, he's not the most eloquent striker. He's just forward thinking and he works for the team, and Edouard does do that as well. Sometimes it gives the wrong impression, and like I've said, he does look a little bit lazy, but it's just his style of play. He's that kind of he'll burst into action out of nowhere. Last season, in the 1920 season, he was top goal scorer with 22 goals in 27 appearances, and it would have likely have been hit the 30 goal mark had the season not been stopped due to the pandemic. He has enjoyed becoming the central focus, and he now seems more goal hungry than he previously was. But what's interesting is his assist tally has risen quite dramatically. So from just 5 in all competitions in the 18-19 season, and he got 16 in the 19-20 season. So he definitely developed into an all-round striking proposition. In his whole career at Celtic, he's got 89 games under his belt, 48 goals, 24 assists in the league. He's played 19 times in the Europa League, scoring 7 goals with 2 assists. And he's played 11 times in the Champions League qualifying rounds, scoring 6 goals and 3 in the Champions League qualifying. Celtic apparently want upwards of £30 million, but with 18 months left in his contract, I guarantee you they would accept £20 million, and that's the rumour. The only thing we need to look at here is Brendan Rodgers knows about him, likes him, and he's currently the manager, and they're looking for a striker, and I can't help but think that Leicester are going to look at potentially bringing him in, so it might be a tough one for us. Some more information on him though. He was hit with a 4-month suspended sentence whilst he was at Toulouse. A 4-month suspended prison sentence in his role as an airgun incident in his native France. And he was on loan to Toulouse at PSG, but he never really hit the ground running at Toulouse or PSG, as you can see from the images here. It was only really its time at Celtic and being given a run in the team. So that will be an interesting one to see if it comes out. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Would you like to bring in Edouard? For me, I think I've seen some of the comments were brought up there. If we brought in potentially Edouard and Lingard, I would probably, it wouldn't be probably, I'd be very happy. I think that would be really good strength and depth in those positions that we definitely need. So yeah, there's comments here. Mark Alexander, Edouard and Lingard would be quality signings. Lingard ain't coming, trust me. Who's that one? Sharp Fitness. I don't know, mate. I get you're not a fan of him. Raymond, I don't know if you're talking about Edouard here. So yeah, it'll be interesting. Yeah, you are talking about Lingard, actually. So yeah, Neil Turner, Moreles, better option and cheaper. The difference is, though, Neil, is that Moreles is playing in a side. Rangers are on target to break records in Scotland just now, and even though he's not having his best season under Steven Gerrard, he definitely will stay, I think, for the full term this year and potentially look for a move in the summer. Although I do like the looks of Moreles and probably would prefer his pit bullish style of play. Definitely is an option there. So yeah, potentially I'd be happy with we brought Edouard in. You could look at 20 million, but it's just whether or not we're going to spend that money. I'm not too sure. But next up is another player that we've been speaking about for a while. And actually, I'm going to bring up a video that Stell had done in his West Ham Weekly, which he recorded back in December, on a player that is linked to the club and supposedly coming in a medical. But what we have heard since is that this deal might not be happening. But let's have a look at Bonswell.
Now, a couple of stories I read this week about some youngsters, which really perked my interest, I think. And the first player is a young lad called Matthew Bonswell, who is currently signed to Red Bull Leipzig. He's a left back. Bonswell, 18 years of age, currently plying his trade. He's on loan at the moment to FC Dordrecht, which is in the Keuken Kampone division, which is the second tier of the Netherlands League. He's on loan to the end of the season, and it's unknown whether he's got a break clause, because there is speculation that we might be interested in him in January. He started his career for Nottingham Forest. He was in Nottingham Forest youth squad before he went to Leipzig to forge his career. He's a very interesting player, left back. He's put in a number of really impressive performances for FC Dordrecht. He's a modern day fullback, likes to go forward attacking. Certainly needs to work on his defensive duties. Shades of Arthur, maybe. His loan move. I think his loan move is all about giving him experience. That's why Leipzig have loaned him out to Dordrecht. But they've got high hopes for him. He's represented England at under 18 level, and but he's yet to push on in his international career. But maybe a move to a Premier League club is the thing. It's the thing that may elevate his status. I read that with interest. He sounds like a very interesting young player, and we know we got to have a long-term replacement for Aaron Creswell, and maybe at 18 he might be too young for David Moyes' liking. But certainly someone that might come in and play in the under-23s and develop from there. So keep an eye out for that one. That was an interesting story.
So as you can see there, our Mr. ITK Stell was bringing that news to you well back in December. But we are hearing that might be changing and he might not be coming to the club anymore, so we'll keep an eye on that one. But what we were talking about last night, and Stella is in the background and we will bring Stella on. I've just got one more player I want to talk to you about in a minute, but we were talking about the likes of bringing in these younger players, and if they are going to turn into something, and if they're not, do we sell them on for profits? I know that's something that West Ham have never done, but that's something that we need to take from models from other clubs. I hate to say it, but Spurs have got a history of doing it, bringing in players from the lower leagues or from foreign clubs, and if they don't work out, selling them on for a profit and that's how you start to turn over and make money. But West Ham are tend to bring in a player for 40 million and sell them for 20, as we have seen with Sebastian Haller. So it'll be interesting to see. So we'll move on though, because we'll move on to some interesting news which is coming out today from the club. Well, we've been speaking about him for a little while, but loads of German publications are saying that West Ham are in advanced talks to sign Hwang Hee-Chan from our Red Bull Salzburg. He is 24-year-old, and it looks like potentially West Ham are looking to bring him in on loan. I mean, apparently his medical is taking place today, and he's on his way to London as we speak. This will be interesting to see us here. So let's see a little bit about him. He's 34-time capped South Korean international, and people would say that he would be a strong strong addition to the West Ham side. Sorry, there's something going wrong with my camera. Let me just fix that, and that's it back up. So I'm bringing up some more images for you. He signed for Red Bull Leipzig from... he's playing from RB... Oh my God, I've got this all mixed up. Red Bull Salzburg in the summer of 2020 for around €9 million. So he's currently at Red Bull Leipzig for about £8 million. But he struggled since joining the Bundesliga Giants. However, just scoring 1 goal and 1 assist in his name in 9 games thus far. But he does possess an impressive career record with 61 goals and 40 assists to his name in 187 appearances throughout his whole career. He's a hard-working striker, he possesses real quality in the final third, and he's incredibly versatile and is comfortable playing anywhere along the front line, again showing you exactly what David Moyes is looking for. Something else to add to the fact is West Ham could potentially enjoy a huge uplift of commercial revenue if we bring in this player. Given how much the South Koreans like watching the Premier League and purchasing merchandise. So this seems like a deal that we would probably really push forward with and get over the line. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in Stel and get the comments. We'll go through some comments and we'll talk about what we've discussed. Stel, how are you?
All right, mate. It's almost midday, so I'm almost awake.
I do apologise for my pronunciations, and because we were getting information as I was preparing the show, a lot of it was coming in, and things were kind of chopping and changing left, right, and centre. But the news is that Hwang could be joining the club.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Apparently, he'll be brought in on loan. Like you said, mate, he's quite a versatile player. I've been reading some stats on him and some details, and I think for the South Korean team he plays in a 2 up front, but he's versatile enough to play 1 up top on his own. He can play out wide, so that versatility will be quite good, and bringing him on loan wouldn't be a bad thing, because we can see what he's like, and if he ends up being good enough, we'll take him permanently. And I don't know how old you said he is. I think he's 24, 25 years of age. Yeah. And he went out on loan to Red Bull Salzburg in 126 appearances, scored 45 goals and 29 assists. All right, people are going to say, well, the Austrian league is nothing like the Premier League, and I get that, but you got to do it where you got to shine somewhere. He had a couple of loan spells to German clubs and didn't do so well. But he sounds interesting. We were always told, we've been told for quite some time, that David Moyes has got a list of players that none of us would have heard of yet, and it looks like he's one of them. I think it's a much more likely proposal than Edouard. I think Edouard's got his sights set on, like, you keep reading that he wants to go to Spurs or Arsenal, and he doesn't want to come to lowly West Ham. And if that's his attitude from now, I'd rather not have him, especially with what Celtic want for him. Some people are saying 35 million, some people are saying like 20-25 million will do it. But if a player doesn't want to come, then why even pursue him?
I think the problem with Celtic's valuation is the fact that now they're struggling. They've got a player who's got 18 months left in his contract. He doesn't want to sign a new contract, and Celtic have got a history of selling on for profit, so they'll always take the profit over losing a player, and they always will do it. It's not like they're very different in terms of the way they run their club, in terms of how West Ham run their club, and reasonably similar to Tottenham's style of how they bring in players and sell on for profits. They will, and I mean, there's a strong chat now about how they'll accept up to £20 million for him. So it'll be interesting. It's whether or not he is interested in coming to the club. Though still, I don't see any of the clubs in that area looking to bring in that top 6. But we're talking about West Ham, who are, in theory, in the top 6 and performing well. Sorry, I don't know what's wrong with my camera today.
What is going on, mate? Early morning blues.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be an interesting one, but I think a lot of positive stuff about Hwang coming in, and I did mention there about his commercial revenue the club would get for bringing him in as well.
It's a no-brainer, isn't it? We've already got some people, I think, from Asia in the chat today, and I think it is a no-brainer. I mean, in 6 months, the board will probably sell more shirts on Hwang Hee-Chan in 6 months than they probably would do in the whole of Lingard's career at West Ham. Let's put it that way.
Yeah,
because Lingard's. I mean, I know I said to you yesterday I didn't think Lingard was a cert, but it looks more likely, doesn't it? And especially a loan. I've been trying to find out if we are going to bring him on loan. Who we're going to buy in terms of who we're going to make permanent in terms of Dawson and Benrahma, and I haven't got an answer to that because the obvious seems to be that it'll be Dawson because it'll only be 3 million, 2 or 3 million. But there's rumours today that we'll make Benrahma permanent, which I think will be a nice touch, to be honest with you, because you can see Benrahma's really trying hard for West Ham, trying to impress.
Yeah.
So if we made him permanent, that would be a real boost to the lad. Yeah, I think it's interesting times. We all kept going on about how we wanted to see strength in depth. I think the only one I'm kind of disappointed in is if the Bonswell deal doesn't happen.
I was just going to say to you, you're hearing today that might not go through now.
Yeah, apparently he was over here doing medical, and now all of a sudden it sounds like he's not coming to us, and he might be going elsewhere. I think Leeds are in for him, or
you kind of tend to find that West Ham have got this ability. We're never really successful when we bring in a lot of these younger players, especially if it gets out into the mainstream media. And when it gets out into the mainstream media, you always find that another club will come in and sniff around, and maybe that's the agent. Maybe that's exactly what the agent's doing. He's trying to get him a better deal, and maybe that's what he's looking to do. But you can't help but think that players would actually do well if Moyes. You can see why Moyes or West Ham are being linked to players from these clubs, because he keeps talking about the Red Bull model, doesn't he?
He does
all the time, and now he's linked to players from these clubs, left, right, and centre.
Well, Hee-Chan really, hit the ground running at Salzburg, and he's really highly rated. And the not only the stats on him, but his style of play. Apparently, he's the sort of player that likes to drop deep to pick up the ball, run with the ball. He's very skillful. He likes, beating. He's impressive on one-to-ones, beating players. It sounds like he'll run the channels, just like what Moyes wants. And also, the interesting thing is, we've been linked to all these big players, big signings as strikers. It's a bit like Lingard. People are asking, well, if Lingard comes in, he's going to want first team football. Won't be any different for people like Edouard and other signings like that. Whereas Hwang Hee-Chan, we're going to have fun pronouncing his name. Whereas Hwang Hee-Chan, he'll come in. He won't be the sort of player that we'll expect. He'd love to, but he won't be the sort of player that we'll expect to start. So you can see him come into the Premier League, a much improved league to what he's been accustomed to, and he'll be the sort of player that will love coming in for the 3 minutes that Moyes loves to give his subs at the end of a game. So it sounds much more likely that he'll be the type of player that we'll get in.
I don't know. With this comment here from Words and Pictures, my guess is Moyes wants to safe bet Lingard, and Sully wants the fan base that comes with Chan. So we'll be betting. I don't know if it is like that, because
I think we'll get both.
I think we might get both. And Lingard didn't actually play under Moyes when Moyes was at Manchester United, and that's not saying that he was a lot younger. Obviously, Lingard was a lot younger back then, but I don't know. I think we could be bringing in both, or we could end up this transfer window. The way that stories are going still, we've reported enough over the last couple of seasons to know that when a story kind of becomes, has it got legs? Basically, are you okay there?
my camera's slipped.
We kind of get the gist of if a story has arms and legs or not, and the ones we're reporting on here, out of all these 4 players we're talking about, there was arms and legs on 3 of them, and there's not really a potentially arms and legs on the Edouard one, because there's a massive fee to be paid, and we're looking at other players there. Whereas it's more reporting to you and more reporting to you and let you know what he could bring if he was to come. He's a player that I would like West Ham to chase and bring in.
I think, mate. I think the days now that Moyes is in, the days of chasing players for 30 odd million are really over. But he definitely won't.
He will not be 30 million. He's definitely. I know they're reporting it, but it's not 30 million. He would be like the record ever. He would be the records outward signing from a Scottish club to anywhere. If he went for 30 and he's not there. So I don't see it.
But it's exciting times. We need strength in depth. We know that. So the type of players we're now being linked to. I know I do, 3 million links every Sunday on the show, but all of a sudden the links that we've been linked to just this week alone seem far more appropriate, far more likely than any of the other links that we've discussed in since the transfer window's open. A player like Hwang Hee-Chan is good. A player like Bonswell, it's a shame if he doesn't come, but that'll be good. And I can see the link. I can understand the Lingard thing. I know what people are saying in the chat, that they don't want him, etc. And I've got to be honest with you.
I think Sean's a Man United fan.
Sean. You can take Lingard on. Well, do you know what? I mean, I know he's fallen out of favour, out of grace at Man United, but you don't become an England international for nothing. And he's still young enough. What is he, 27, 28, 27, 28? A 6-month loan spell to bolster our midfield. We keep saying we need additional strength and depth in midfield. We keep talking about, poor old Mark Noble, his legs have gone. Why not get someone like Lingard in? I reckon he's got a point to prove, and I reckon take the personality aside, take that the personality out of the way. You look at the footballer, and the footballer is not a bad footballer really, and probably someone that could actually do quite well for us. So I know fans won't necessarily want him, and I saw a comment in there. He'll be another Jack Wilshere and stuff like that. But he doesn't have the injury record that Wilshere has or had.
Moyes didn't bring in Wilshere either.
And Moyes didn't bring in Wilshere.
So that's the difference. You've got to kind of back and give Moyes his dues and what he's looking at and seeing. Listen, we as a fan base are fickle. We know that if players come in and they don't perform within a couple of games, we start fans, not we all, but some start turning on these players. But these players need a chance. But this guy, I mean, listen, Dom 54, living in South Korea for the past 5 years. This deal is looking so likely from news sources here. He will be phenomenal commercially for the club. But lots of good reports coming from people in the chat saying there. I mean, I've already been given into trouble from my dad. He's texted me saying that's not how you pronounce half the teams you've mentioned. So I do apologise for anyone for my pronunciations.
Well, as we keep saying, your dad is the only baker that really speaks any sense, mate. So there you go.
Yeah. So let's see what Sean is saying. I'm a Man United and Jesse's my favourite footballer, and him need the first team football. I think Moyes can bring the best out of him.
Yeah, as a footballer, you can't say he's no good. If he was an average footballer that was just sort of languishing in the Man United squad and not having done anything, then fair enough. But he's a decent player. It just goes to show how strong the Man United squad is, that Lingard's not getting a look in, because they do have some class midfielders. Let's not deny it. But that doesn't make Lingard bad. It just means that he's not as good as the other Man United players that are there. That's all. But for West Ham, what are we aiming for? If we're really aiming for a cup run, is he cup tied? He's cup tied, isn't he? Cheers, Jim. I think he's cup tied. But he can certainly help us in the league. And if we are going to push for a European place, and I know we're all kind of a little bit starry-eyed at the moment, but why not? Why not someone like Lingard who's got the experience of the Premier League? And look at what happens when we keep talking about, if we lose Declan Rice, if we lose Souček, what are we going to do? And I know he's not a defensive midfielder, but he can come in and do a job there. And some may argue he's probably as good as Lanzini, who's not really been doing it for us over the past season or so. So I wouldn't turn it down. I wouldn't turn the offer down if it is true.
Right. So what we'll do is we'll remember tonight we've got our matchday live. It's Crystal Palace. I'm just confirming the times of who's going to be on and when. So we'll put out a notification. Apologise. when I set this show up, I actually put it out for 11:30 tonight, and very
Did you?
quickly, yeah, I had to change it. Literally, someone came into the chat saying this is a late one for a transfer show, and I went, "Oh, when is it? 11:30 p.m." So I had to go and change it immediately, and it was going live immediately from when I said. So players we were talking about today were bringing in Jesse Lingard. We believe this has got arms and legs and could be looking at a potential loan deal for him. And yeah, we've gone through the comments and discussed what he potentially could bring. We've discussed Edouard from Celtic. They're looking for potentially reported upwards of 30 million, but we think that the fee could drop to 20 if a club does come in for him. I think maybe Brendan Rodgers and Leicester will look at him, to be honest, and pay the fee. But I would like him, but I don't think this one is going to have arms and legs. We were talking about the deal for Bonswell that we thought was going to happen, but we think it might not happen anymore. And finally, we were talking about Hwang Hee-Chan from the South Korean international, who looks like he is currently about to do a medical and on his way to the club. Anyway, still, any last points you want to make before we have to go and live our life and get back to work again?
Yeah, I've got to get back to work, mate. So, no.
Right, cool. Thanks for joining us. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, keep the comments coming in, and we'll see you tonight for our Matchday Live. Come on, you Irons.